Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Wildeberg harvest update from the Brutenau International team. I am Sam. I'm a product marketing manager here at Brutenau. I'm joined by JD over in South Africa, who's our winemaker out there for Wildeberg. Say hello, JD.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
All excited to have you. Just before we start, we should say that please let us know if you're watching from somewhere in the world, where you're watching from, because we'd love to know where you all are. And also, if you've got any questions throughout the little chat that we're about to have, do let us know and we'll try and answer them as best we can, as long as we remember. If we forget, then we apologise. Somebody will answer after that, but we'll try our best. So JD, we're here to talk about the harvest, obviously, at Wildeberg, and we'll get into all the details as we go through, but can you give us a really quick summary of sort of how the year went from your point of view?
Yes, I think so. Obviously, it was our first harvest. Before we get into that later, from the farm, the fruit from the farm, but it was also the first harvest where we actually made wine physically on the farm. Where in the past we rented space down in the valley where we made the wine. So it was a lot of firsts for us. I think harvest-wise, quality-wise, it was a great year for us. And I'm not just saying that. It's like the French always say, no, this is the best harvest ever. No, it was actually 2021. I think is one of our better harvests. I'm quite looking forward to watching the wines at the end of the year. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we'll get into the details of all of that in a second. But if there's anybody, or there are people watching who don't know Wildeberg, because they've not joined us before, can you what is it? Where are you? What do you do, etc.
Okay, so Wildeberg is a small farm situated in like the mid slopes in the mountains of Franschhoek in South Africa, about say an hour and a half's drive from Cape Town. We started off, when was it planted? Well, the first vines in 2018. So just quickly, our wine philosophy is when we started off this whole project, I think it was quite important for us to literally say, this is the vineyards and this is the vines that we've fallen in love with over the last few years, and this is what we're trying to express in our wines. So we believe in non-interventional winemaking, or minimal interventional winemaking, as we call it here, lazy winemaking. So we really rather spend an hour or two more in the vineyards than in the winery. So we are out, and when we come back in harvest time with the fruit, all our whites, or all the wines are naturally fermented. 600 liter barrels. Red, we do not crush. We leave to keep it in the whole berries. The reason for that is we live in a country where there's more than enough sunshine. We really want to capture the sense of place from the vineyards, and not trying to extract and to work the grapes too much in the winery. Ever since, so 2018 was the first bottling. So 2021. We said it's our first harvest from the farm, but it's actually will be our fourth bottling at the end of the year. So yeah, it's quite exciting year for us.
So JD, people can see there just before it finishes this little video. It's obviously a spectacular place where you are, but in this particular video there are no vines. So it's clear that there's a winery over here somewhere. And where you guys actually work day to day, but what's the deal with that? You say it's the first harvest on the farm that we took over. What did you say in 2018?
Yeah, so we bought the farm, I think it was 2016. So 2018. So when we bought the farm, it is a 144 hectare farm. It's literally a piece of a mountain. So in the next 5 years, we will plant maximum 10 hectares on the farm. But I think it's important to state, Sam, that we think of ourselves not as a estate, because a estate for us is quite claustrophobic. It's a thing that you put a fence around. We have this beautiful mountain, it's open, there's no fences there. And also, so in the next, say, 5 years, we will plant 10 hectares. The 4 hectares already been planted, and that's what we bear the fruit from this year. But then we go out to the greater, especially the coastal region, and like I said, our terroir range is from outside of Franschhoek. We have a Sauvignon Blanc from Stellenbosch, amazing vineyard, 550 meters above sea level. Then we have terroir Chenin, which is from dryland bush vines that's planted in 1973. Then we also work with vineyards around the farm. We've got Semillon comes to mind that was planted in 1902, which is, 109 years, 19 years old. So it's ancient bush vine. So we go out, we work with this amazing vineyard and bring it back to Wildeberg, and then make wine from it, and then also from the farm. So I think it's definitely important. We're not a estate, so we think as a small farm, making hands-off wine, winemaking.
So, just to reiterate, there weren't when we took over in 2016, there were no plantings there of grapes. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So
there was literally two horses walking in front of the house where I'm sitting now. It was open. I think there was actually a prune orchard. I think you call it orchard. Prune trees planted, I think 20 or 30 years ago. So when we bought the farm, we made let's call it a calculated risk by buying this farm and saying, listen, we think vines can do great here. So it was a risk, and I think that's why we were quite slightly nervous when we made the wine, because we had no idea what the wine is going to taste like, because it was the first time ever in history that there's planted vines on this little property. So we planted in 2018 on the open area. We planted Chardonnay, Semillon, Syrah, and then Syrah. So those 4 wines we made, vineyards we made wine from. Yeah.
So when it's been overlooked for so long, what was it? What makes you so special that you think that you can grow things there when other people didn't? What was it that you saw? Especially for those great varieties on the land, on the small piece of land that you've got, that made you think, we can do something here.
Well, I don't want to say we've got a sixth sense. I don't want to go there. But we definitely, if you come to Wildeberg and you walk here and you're on the farm, you get this feeling. And this is the same feeling you get when you go out to the vineyards outside of Wildeberg that we work with. It's literally, I can't really explain the feeling, but it's really, you know exactly, I want to work with this vineyard.
Yeah.
And I think that's super important for us also, like I said earlier, is that not just to make another Sauvignon, there's enough Sauvignons in the world, but it's really to make that Sauvignon from that vineyard, the express place. And so obviously people, I don't know, was scared. It's a very rocky farm, you can see in the background. It's not easy to farm, but we set out to plant vines, and we can talk later about the quality, and we are still sitting here and smiling about it, and I think we definitely made the right decision to plant vineyards on here in Wildeberg.
So that's the actual plantings and the vineyards. But you mentioned before it's also the first time this year that you actually crushed wine on the farm and sort of processed it there. Again, what were you doing before? You were just 2 guys stood in a barn before. If you didn't have any vines and no crushing facilities.
Yeah, crazy. Like I said, we were renting space with friends down in the valley. So we had our few tanks. This is when we used the crusher. This is when we used the press. But just to give you some background, so I'm quite into camping. When you go camping, you've got this list. I need to pack this and I need to do that. So before this harvest, we said, okay, we have a barn. What do we need to do to harvest at Wildeberg? And so we need tanks, we need a press, we need this and that and that. But I must tell you, the first day of harvest, when we started harvesting at Wildeberg, it was a dog show. Literally 2 people that got 15 years of experience, 2 winemakers each. it was like the first time we've ever made a wine. Like a 2-hour job took almost like the whole day just to make. And luckily we started small, and we knew it would be crazy in the beginning. So we said we're just going to do like 3 tons a day wine. But I think like camping, when you go out, you will always forget something. You can never, it won't be perfect, but at the end of the day, you just need to enjoy the camping, and you have to enjoy nature. And we said to ourselves, when we're going to do this, the only thing that we won't, that we will what's the English word? That we will let go is quality. So we will always focus on quality. Even if a 2-hour job will take us 24 hours, we will do it the right way. Otherwise, we stop this and we go down into the valley again and knock on the door and say, sorry, we're here again. Can we do our grapes? And except for that, I think it was quite challenging space-wise, but it went well. It went, I think, better than we really expected it going. So yeah, we're quite proud of what we did this year.
And is there a benefit to, as I know that they're only just down the road previously, but obviously if you're harvesting on the farm and you're crushing right there on the farm, is there a benefit to the wine in that sort of proximity of the two?
Definitely. Yeah, I really believe that. I think it's just to go technical, but the transport is just your grapes are literally done here. It's about 500 meters from the winery. Tractor. It comes quickly in. You need to remember we're in South Africa, so in February is our hottest month where most of the harvest has been done. So it gets up to 40, 45 degrees Celsius. We need to get the grapes in as quickly as possible. So we start harvesting at 6 o'clock in the morning. So sometimes, especially the grapes at Wildeberg, 8 o'clock, all the grapes are in, and then you can start processing it in the winery. So I think there's huge benefits on having it at Wildeberg, yeah.
Amazing. So let's see where we're up to on our things we want to talk about. So let's move on to stay on the farm, but talk about quality. So tell us again what it is you've got planted there.
So it's Semillon, about say 1.4 hectares, and then we've got a hectare of Chardonnay, a hectare of Syrah, and a hectare of Petit Syrah.
And how were you impressed with the quality after all that time of waiting? You're pleased with the results?
Yeah. When you do blending, the worst nightmare for a winemaker will be you don't have all this different colors, as we call it, or different blocks to build this perfect wine, or great wine. And I think with Wildeberg, it's such a place, like I said, the first time we've planted grapes here ever in the history. It's something new to this blend that we can, or
you
to
can
this wines that
JD, can you? The distance between the vineyards and the winery, just there.
Yeah. So you can actually see. So this is the bottom of the property that you can see, and then as you go up, say 100 meters. I said 500. It's about 100 meters to the top. So it's very close, close by.
And so, you're happy with the quality of the fruit on the farm. Obviously, this here is the clos that you guys built.
Yes,
a couple of years ago now, I think.
Yeah. So that the previous video you saw is the 4 hectares that we planted, and when we started working the soil, getting it ready for planting, like half the mountain came out from beneath the soil, and we had all this rocks lying around. We said, okay, cool, we have this little plot, so let's build a clos. So we built this clos. It takes 800 vines. You're looking at about 800 vines, and we planted Semillon bush vine in that, just to make something special and keep something apart for that. Yeah.
Fantastic. So
I think it's also important. It's also important to say. In that block, we're talking about 4 hectares, which is not a big space if you look at it, but almost every 5 meters, the soil analysis changed. I think also that might have intimidated previous owners to plant vineyards here. So I think for us, that's a plus point. So you get so much complexity and so much diversity in one vineyard. So just like Shiraz, which is 1 hectare, planted 3 different clones, and then there's the soil that just ever changed the whole time. So you get so much different pockets, and yeah, it just adds to the complexity of the wine.
Yeah. And you were saying before, JD, that you guys don't think of yourselves as an estate. You know, it's too claustrophobic. And so obviously, while it's been the first harvest on the farm, you've also been harvesting outside of the farm, around and about. And are you happy with the quality elsewhere in South Africa? You said it's probably one of the best recent vintages in South Africa on the whole.
Yeah, I think it's it's two different stories of this harvest. I think especially with the vineyards that we work with, on the white, as you know, we believe in old vines. So vineyards older than 35 years old. So we just saw from 2018 when the drought was there, they are so consistent year after year after year. And I think that's quite important for us also to make a wine and for the consumer that say buys the Wildeberg bottle to have that consistency year after year. So I think that's a big plus for us. Even like say 2021 in the coastal region, Franschhoek, Stellenbosch, Paul, where we get most of our grapes. We had nice rainfall, so it was quite a healthy harvest. So yeah, we're quite chuffed.
And are there any varieties in particular or vineyard plots that we work with that you just think, wow, this year the rest is good, but that's just really sung this year for you?
Well, I don't know if it's just maybe it's the first time we set out. So when I was in France in 2017 in Provence, did a tasting there, and it was a blind tasting, and we tasted this amazing wine, textural bomb, and it was really a good wine. And when I opened it, it was actually a barrel fermented rosé. And this year I said, wow, okay. And we stumbled across this, this vineyard found us, Sinsa vineyard. And we said, okay, but let's do one press, 4 barrels and just try that. And really wanted to make a wine like that. So for us, I think it was quite exciting. And when we tasted it, when it was last week, it was just, wow, it really impressed us. I think from all the wines and all the projects we worked on this year, the one that excited us the most. But all the core brands, the Wildeberg Semillon, is going well. The Wildeberg Red, the Syrah, it's another spice bomb, cinnamon, flavors. So yeah, I think all around we are quite happy. Quality is
fantastic. Just remind us again what barrels you guys use over there, because you're very particular about what you pick, aren't you, for the barrels you either age or ferment in?
Yeah, so all our whites, we do only use 500 and 600 liter barrels. I think for us, the balance between oak and wine works the best there. Like I said earlier, is we're really trying to give the vineyards a voice. So we're not trying to over oak them or overpower them. So the barrels are literally just the frame of the picture where the wine needs to be the picture. So we work with 600 and 500 liter. On all the Chenin other varietals, we only work with French oak. And then on Semillon, we work with Austrian oak. It's a barrel called Stockinger. Call him the amplifier. So it almost doesn't add anything. You can't add anything. You have to have it in your wine, and it just takes that and amplifies it even more. So yeah, and then on the reds, all the call it Rhone varietal, also 600 and 500 liters, and then more the Bordeaux, the Cabernet Franc, and we will put in 300 liter French oak barrels.
And so all that wine. So you've got the wine from the farm. You've got a fantastic harvest elsewhere. Is it yields particularly high or low, or
stable? Yeah. Stable. No, I think with, as I said earlier, with the quality on old vines, it's quite stable year after year. It will be 5% up, 5% down, but it's very stable.
So you're bringing all of that fruit back to the farm to crush. Is that right? And you've now got to find somewhere to store far more wine than you normally would have done.
No, so luckily, like I said, space was a problem because like some of the blocks, especially the Malbec, went up like I think 10% more than last year. But we managed to crowbar everything in this little shed we have here. So I think only one batch is still busy with malolactic fermentation, and then we're done. So then it's just going to chill there till the end of the year. And the Cottery Red and Petit Syrah will be until the end of next year. So we're almost there. Then I can start playing more golf here. So.
The one question some people might be asking, JD, who know Wildeberg, is why do you never have that much wine? Why are the volumes so small for what we produce at Wildeberg? Is there well, obviously it's to do with what we work with, I guess, but is there a specific choice? Because for why we produce such little wine, I suppose, in global terms?
I think this is, like I said, 2021 is the fourth bottling, if my maths are right. And I think for us just to grow for the sake of growing it, it's not really what we want to do. So we really want to focus on quality, and we super focus, especially when it comes to bottling. So every time we do a bottling of, say, let's call it the Wildeberg White, we put forward the best wine that we can make from that vineyards that year. 1,000 bottles, so be it. 10,000 bottles, so be it. But just to make 10,000 bottles and the quality isn't way up there, I think that's the reason why we start small and we back ourselves with quality rather than quantity at this stage.
Yeah. And so you sort of know what the next question is going to be, which is there's obviously a project on that's here now, I think, or it's certainly on the horizon of Wild House, which is a sort of bigger volume wine. And surely it's not possible for you guys to be able to do the same textural wine, wild fermentation, attentive winemaking type thing on such a much larger scale. Is it possible, do you think?
Well, usually if people tell us we can't do it, then we want to do it. So that's why we planted years on Wildeberg. So now when we brought Wild House under the Wildeberg flag, we said we need to be true to ourselves. We need to apply the same philosophy that we apply to, say, 1,000 bottles of this ancient bush wine for Wildeberg White. And I think for us, yes, it's a challenge, bring it into the bigger volume. But it works. I think we just stick to our guns. We went, and also what we said earlier is make vineyards. Well, we start with the vineyards and then we make wine. Sometimes, but that's what you have to do. But sometimes it doesn't really happen. So we went out. Luckily, we have the experience of what in South Africa now for 26 years. So we have the experience and we know what is growing where and what we need for that style for Wild House. So we went out this year, challenging, but we applied to it. Luckily, we have producers there. We said we need to make it naturally, and they were like looking, it's going to be stuck fermentation. We said, just chill, you just do that and that and that. And then we went in and just tasting the whole time. And 2021, Shannon is bottled now, and I think that's great. Shiraz is done with Mallow, and it's definitely that you can see that golden thread running from the white down with the Wild House wines. So I think it worked.
Great. And so, other than Wild House, what's next on the horizon for Wildeberg? You know, you mentioned this year you've produced a really tiny volume of rosé, Coterie rosés. Is there anything else that we should expect, or anything else sort of that looking even further beyond that you would like to sort of have a stab at down the line?
I think, for us, it's just keeping it simple at the moment. I think we've got a nice range now. What's it now? I think it's eight wines, excluding for Wild House at the moment. And I think it's just trying to focus on that. And like you said earlier, is trying to grow that volume by keeping this top quality in the wines. So I think, the new projects is definitely we are taking a stab at rosé. Various categories. I but the rest of the wines we are quite trying to keep stable and focus on what we're doing now, at least for the next 3 years, and then we can see what will happen. The thing is, like I said, we need to get this vineyards. We need to find the vineyards that make the wine. We don't go out and say, well, we want to make a Merlot now, that's the next thing, and then go out and look for vineyards. So if we stumble across the amazing Merlot, we'll see. I think for now, we'll keep it stable, take a stab at Rosé, and then see where we go from there.
And in terms of that extra, I think you might have mentioned it before, the extra plantings on the farm itself. Are there plans for when that will be?
Yes, so next year we will plant. So we will plant about an hectare of Cabernet Franc, and then also it's less than a hectare bush vine. So it's another clos we built from the rocks. We'll plant bush vine, high density Chenin Blanc, which is also quite a first area where we are. But as you know, we love Chenin Blanc, and I think it will do very well in this area. So yeah, that's and then going forward, we'll see the next 3 years planting the rest of the farm.
Fantastic. I'm not really sure what else. I think we've covered quite a lot, and you've talked through a lot of the things that I did have as questions anyway. So unless, I mean, I don't know if we've had any extra questions come in from the viewing public, but if not, then we'll call it a day at that, if that's all right, JD.
Yeah, no, I think just from our side, I think for everybody watching, just to thank them for the continuous support they are giving Wildeberg over the last 4 years. Please keep on doing that. We need you more now than ever. So, and yeah, really thank you for supporting us. We really appreciate it.
Fantastic. So thanks a lot for your time, JD.
You're welcome. Thanks, Sam, for your time as well.
Wi-Fi sorted. And thanks to everybody for watching.